A lot of storylines around the National Football League. Let's just kind of run through this. Indianapolis Colts. It's been weird because they've got the contract mess and the injury mess with Jonathan Taylor that's not been solved. Jim Irsay's public stance about money. You add into that Gardner Minshew, journeyman quarterback, but kind of a gunslinger, has refused to give up the starting quarterback job to Anthony Richardson, the number one pick out of Florida. AR-15 is going to start in the Colts' first preseason game, but Minshew is going to play the equal number of snaps that Anthony Richardson plays. It's interesting. Indianapolis now desperately needs a running back because Jonathan Taylor's hurt and he's got the contract issue. They brought in Kareem Hunt, who's got like over 5,800 all-purpose yards and 48 touchdowns, ex-Chiefs, ex-Browns. Brought him in, did not sign him. Now, I don't know if it's because Hunt is asking for a ton of money or Irsay is trying to devalue the running back position and he only wants to give him the veterans minimum. But I would have thought he would have been a lock and he could play immediately and help them, and instead he's gone. Arizona, you think you got problems here living in this heat? How about the heat the Cardinals are going to have? Now, there is no Kyler Murray. There is a new coach, obviously, a lot of new staff members, new playbook and all that. They don't have a starting quarterback. They've gone through all the OTAs and all the spring workouts, and now a couple of weeks into camp, they got 4 quarterbacks, and all 4 are going to play in preseason games. Colt McCoy was supposed to be the backup, but he hasn't set the world on fire. And nobody knows how long Kyler Murray's going to be out. Might be 4 weeks, might be 6 more weeks recovering from knee surgery. So you got the Cardinals situation where 4 different guys are going to run out there at quarterback. Holy cow, that's not good at this late date. Chargers, boy, they're excited on offense. Now they have a setback. Today, at about 11 a.m., they lost Josh Palmer, the big, rangy receiver, Tennessee. Wow. Went down, we think it's a knee injury. Made an unbelievable catch in full contact and got crushed. Now, they haven't indicated whether it's a torn knee ligament or just a sprain or if there's something else that happened. But that's too bad because he had 72 catches last year, averaged like 12 yards per catch, made a bunch of big plays down the sideline. Now, the Chargers are really excited. They've got a 6'4" receiver that they had on their developmental squad all last year, a kid by the name of John Hightower. And he's had a remarkable camp. He's caught 8 touchdown passes.
Nice.
In all the workouts. He's exceeded Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. So keep an eye on him Saturday night in this game. Quentin Johnston, the number 1 pick, big, tall athlete, kind of looks like Mike Williams, has made some big plays, but he's dropped a bunch of balls. He dropped a bunch of balls last year at TCU. Also, there's a huge fight for starting spots in the secondary. So if you're watching the Charger-Rams game, J.T. Woods, Mark Webb, Ja'Sir Taylor, all fighting to steal a starting job. So that's the latest with the Chargers. Raiders, we talked about Jimmy Garoppolo. He will play this weekend. The Raiders, intriguing things, though. In the last 2 weeks, they've really upgraded their secondary. They need defensive help everywhere. Marcus Peters has come in. I mean, he is physical. He's fast. He plays with attitude. He's a bit of a hothead. He was in Kansas City, played well, went to Baltimore, played well, but they both got rid of him. I think the correct phrase would be high maintenance.
Okay.
So he's got 32 career picks. Anyhow, he has come in. He's playing really good cornerback for the Raiders. Second-year cornerback Myron Epps is playing really well. And a guy that really earned his spurs last year and was in and out of the lineup because of injuries by name of Nate Hobbs, he's playing well. So we'll watch the Raiders in their preseason games, what they do. Patriots play Thursday night against Houston. They'll play against C.J. Stroud. And this will be the unveiling of the new Patriot offense with their struggling quarterback, Mac Jones, who had a really bad time with assistants last year, and their new coordinator who's coming back to Belichick's staff, Bill O'Brien, who's a really sharp dude, kind of a weird persona. So we'll see what that linkage is, Mac Jones with Bill O'Brien. And in Denver, as we all await the debut of all things Sean Payton, I Am the Law, he's had a lot of injuries. And this is really tough because I didn't think he had enough players to begin with. But he's lost 2 of his top receivers. Tim Patrick ruptured Achilles again. KJ Hamler removed from the roster, a regular heartbeat situation. Left tackle Garrett Bowles is not held up. He's coming off knee surgery. They lost their big money right tackle, Matt McGlinchey, to a knee injury yesterday. Barrett Browning, do everything linebacker, had a good season a year ago. Then he got hurt at the end. So Sean Payton's got an awful lot of injuries that he doesn't have enough players if he can't get all these guys back. But Russell Wilson looks dynamic. Eric Bieniemy, this is really interesting. Big uproar in the Washington Commanders camp. Bieniemy, of course, a longtime Chiefs coordinator, now the coordinator and assistant head coach in Washington to Ron Rivera. Evidently, players are bitching that Bieniemy is so intense that he's in everybody's face every minute of every day. And players went to Ron Rivera, and Rivera told him to leave the office, would not talk to him. He says, this guy is, quote, coaching you up. And he told those players who met individually with him, he has my approval to do what he's doing because look where he was and what he accomplished the other place, the other place being Kansas City. And he said, it's your job as a player with the Washington Commanders to become comfortable with what is uncomfortable. That was a direct quote.
It's a good line.
Yeah, that's what your boss would tell you.
Yeah.
Quit bitching, go back to work.
Exactly.
So that's what's going on there. And one final note. Old timers will remember this name. This guy was a great kicker in the old Pac-8, UCLA. Name was Zenon Andrusician. Went to Canada, played 13 years in Canada, Toronto Argonauts, going to be in the Hall of Fame. Guy kicked 215 field goals. He was also their punter and the kickoff guy. He did everything in Canada. He had a 108-yard punt.
Wow. In the
CFL. Of course, the fields are 110 yards long. 108 yards. Nobody's ever come close to it. He just passed away at the age of 76. He was a great punter and kicker. And he was actually a Kansas City Chief for about 2 years and elected to go back to the CFL. Played forever up there, made a lot of money, kind of a folk hero. So that's what's going on in the NFL Notebook.
Yeah, so it looks like the punt god before the more recent punt god, right?
Yeah.
But this is intriguing, all these NFL teams, and what a disaster in Phoenix. They're trying to put that thing together after Kingsbury got, let go, and they've never been able to have a functional offense with Kyler Murray. But let me ask you, Lee, there are a lot of those top quarterbacks, and we've talked a lot about Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson and a bunch of others. The kid from Kentucky, the kid from TCU. Are any of those, do you think, are going to surprise us this year? I mean, who are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, the learning curve is right there. C.J. Stroud is starting for for Houston. Bryce Young is starting for Carolina. Both are going to start their preseason games, each one of those preseason games. So now you're going to go through that learning curve with those guys. Will Levis, who sat on the board forever, you talked about the Kentucky quarterback, he's going to play this weekend, probably coming off the bench, but he's going to play like a full half for the Tennessee Titans. It'll be fascinating to see how far along Anthony Richardson is, because I watched a bunch of video of him at Florida, and he is dynamic, and he is big, and he's an athlete, and he's also wildly inconsistent. But Jim Irsay says he's going to have to play. He's going to have to learn. It's probably going to be painful, but he is starting Indianapolis's first game. So it'll be fascinating to see. Interesting story I think it's in Washington. Jake Haener, Fresno State star quarterback, has had a really good camp, which kind of surprises me because he's kind of undersized. Like he's 5'10", if he's 5'10". But he made all the throws at Fresno, and they blitzed the daylights out of him, and they got battered, and he stayed in there and kept making plays. Haener has played well. Now, granted, Sam Howell, second-year quarterback, is going to be the guy, and Jacoby Brissett, journeyman quarterback, is going to be number 2, but Haener's going to play in some of these preseason games. So that's where we are, and quit bitching. Just go back to your stall in your computer. Be comfortable with what I'm making you uncomfortable about.
Yeah, well, Ron Rivera made the right move there because he hired Bieniemy for a reason.
Sure.
And he can't, kind of bend a knee to the players. He's got to be able to be a tough guy there. But, this preseason is going to be fascinating. I'm looking forward to seeing how all these teams go. But I'm really interested to see, Anthony Richardson, a really dynamic athlete. Oh. So imagine if he could kind of figure it out. Boy, the Colts could be in for a really nice show.
Okay, you're an NFL fan. We're getting to halftime. You're an NFL fan. Join us on Fans Forum. You got questions, we're going to have answers for you.